Rest in peace, Canada. Folks, I got to do this live. Long weekend's over. It was beautiful. Thanks again for the many happy birthday messages. I had piles. In fact, it buries my feed completely. Sometimes I wish, should I remove my birthday? But it's nice to get all of it nonetheless. Take me a long time to catch up to everybody and messages. But I want to do this, and a lot of Americans messaging me over the last 48 hours, all on Canada. The rest in peace. Your country is doomed. U.S. Americans will never tolerate it. U.S. will be finished with Canada. And I wholeheartedly agree. In fact, Suckhole Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, and a number of others trying to play a game back and forth here, it doesn't bode well. I can tell you the entire Trump administration will never give two shits ever again about Doug Ford. I can guarantee everybody that. Not just Donald J. Trump and the entire American administration under him, but absolutely all Congress and Senate in majority, Democrat and Republican. Americans will never tolerate the security breaches of China over Canada. I'm sure you're all hearing from Fat Doug Ford, who now is pivoting again from flip-flop. Massive protest in Toronto. I actually had to go drive and check that out yesterday when I flew in on my way back to the Bruce County. I had to just go through that and see the remnants of it at least. And 350,000 they estimate were a part of that protest. For what? For what, everybody? The return of the monarchy to Iran. Because the supreme leader is a bad idea. But don't worry, everybody. The king will be savior. King will do it all. They'll still have church under state, not the church of state. It'll be church under state, where your government will give you access to God and Allah all through Islam, right? Like, that's so much better. It's not better at all. It's the putridness of Canada. And I'll tell you, everybody, that was showcased loud and clear. Your Canadian immigration program. And remember, everybody, this is federal and provincial, completely different than the United States. Remember, all 10 provinces plus the federal government put more into your immigration program than the military. In fact, per capita ratio, Canadians, you spend federally, and in all 10 provinces per capita, you pay as much as all Americans do for their national security, the war machine of the United States of America. That's your immigration program. Yeah, 10 times the size of America's, with 10 times less the population. And you've got outposts in every major country, every tyrannical regime, every lover of subjugation. You Canadians, you bring that in the boatloads. Third world tyrannies, those are the subjects we want. And you saw it. If you've missed it, 350,000 Iranian waving flags. Biggest protest Canada's ever seen, right? Monarchy! Iranian monarchy! Oh, okay. Wow, good little subjects. Great subjects, right? When you look at their population, you realize they've got all the first-class Iranians in Canada who just want their hereditary titles back. Yeah, way outnumbers the monarchy crown hereditaries of the Conservative Party of Canada and Liberal Party of Canada put together. That should terrify everybody. But of course, nobody puts two and two together. If you've missed, China has dropped all requirements for taking a visit to China. Your visa system's completely gone. Come on, Canadians, come to China. And all these business leaders in Canada from the monarchy are flooding there right now. Watch tons of videos, interviews. All of these investors of Canadian subject money, debt-loaded money, already booked to China. going to be jumping into the Beijing system. It is really rest in peace, Canada. You've been robbed, subjects and savages beyond all measure by your government, and now you're going to watch massive capital outflow to where? Communist China, which lends to the future of Canada becoming communist. And you'll see it from at least the second class. They're lining up to go to Beijing to get all invested in that new system. Oh yeah, wow. All money stolen from you, me, every working Canadian, largely at the 60 percentile. If they didn't directly steal it through taxation, they've absolutely stolen it by government debt loading against all of you. All the new businesses going into national defense, I'm going to tell you all right now, right out of the horse's mouth, Canada's national defense, largest source civil societies, they're claiming this weekend, all through this weekend, that it's a done deal with the United States. F-35s, all 88 are going to be procured. That's what they're saying, and they're never wrong. Okay? So whatever you're hearing from the media, whatever you're hearing from the BS of Mark Carney or any conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, the rest of it, we're already promised to all of the F-35s, all 88. That's what I'm being told at the highest authority of Canada's national defense civil societies, and they've never been wrong. Just like throwing the Avro Arrow in the garbage. We're going to put $8 billion every Canadian that we don't have. We're borrowing in the name of Mark Carney and the promise that within 10 years there's going to be 125,000 jobs in defense and procurement. Well, I can tell you all, since absolutely post-World War II, any procurement strategies Canada's ever done on these scales and even beyond has never, ever worked out. You, me, at least our parents and my grandparents were debt loaded for such claims like Mark Carney's making, and in the end they all end up at the bottom of Lake Ontario every single time, whether it's tanks, armored vehicles, missile defense systems, aircraft, oceanic submarines, all of it, bottom of Lake Ontario, every single time. You won't find Canada procuring anything for itself or sourcing from itself, which begs the question with the new visa program to China, where's all of it really going to come from? Not hard to figure out. Pick up anything you buy in the store. Chances are it says made in China. That's going to be your military too. Made in China. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm a Canadian company, but I source all the components from China. And then I put it together and call it Canada. Yeah, that's a great place for your military procurement, right? And USA is going to tolerate that, right, everybody? If you don't think USA saw everything on Iran, you're sadly mistaken. Now, there's a lot on Iran and the 60-year propaganda going all the way back. Well, it's over 60 years, but back to 1961, the overthrow of the monarchy there. And, of course, the prince by 67, who's supposed to be king of Iran right now. And there's a lot of accusations over the time periods into the 80s, even under Ronald Reagan, of the CIA being involved. I'm going to look into all of that. I'm going to go through president, but I want everybody to understand something I learned about how America works in checks and balances. Yes, the CIA is executive branch of government. Yes, the president has direct influence over that, but not without the check and balance called Congress. Two committees, two intelligence committees, who also have sway over the CIA. I'm going to read all of those reports over the next couple weeks, and upgrade myself to a level of understanding. Understand this, all Canadians, whether Americans get this or not, but in Canada, our VISAS is absolutely under Prime Minister and Privy Council only through Governor General of Canada. Forget our House, absolutely not our Senate. It is all of the ministry and absolutely the authority of Prime Minister through Governor General. One soul, and that's it. Not so in the United States, so I don't want to talk out of turn. I know there's a lot of Q on this. There's a lot of other crazy, a lot of other conspiracy theories, meaning you can't prove it. It's a theory. Well, I don't do conspiracy theory, so I'm going to give it to everybody straight in what is conspiracy or isn't. What is the fault of presidencies, or what's the fault of these congressional committees, each having an authority over that? I'm going to give that to everybody in the coming weeks. But regardless of all that, this does not bode well, everybody, for the state of Canada. Just Iran has more influence in Canada than Canadians' old stock do. That's what that large protests prove to everybody. And it should also prove to you that your government aggressively targets immigration based on subjugation ability of the folks they're bringing into Canada. How good of slaves will they make? And I am sorry, this video is spicy, but there's 1,000 years of subjugation in Iran and through the Persian Empire entirely. Slavery was a lot longer than there ever was any kind of idea of freedom, by 1,000 years plus. Thousands of years, in fact. And they've known more about slavery than they've ever dabbled in touches in history of perceived freedom. And this is not a road to freedom. And also, it shows you how prevalent that is in Canada. That should scare the shit out of everybody. I don't know why it doesn't. And you won't get this from any media or anybody else. And here's a crown. Oh yes, the monarchy, the monarchy. Oh, glorious. Slaves to outvote all the Canadians. And that's just Iran, folks. That's not the largest source of your subjugated third world based immigration. So if you don't know this country's gone already, you should, because look at that immigration. Largely, again, through PNP program over the last 40 years. Never mind federal ramp-ups. A lot of people don't understand that. This country's gone, and that should terrify you, what we witnessed this weekend out of those Iranian protests in Toronto. Terrifying. And if you don't think national security alarm bells aren't going off all through the United States, and that all of a sudden the big blabbermouths in those northern states and some of those governors aren't going to be going, holy shit, I don't know what to tell you. Next thing we're going to talk about is Tumbler Ridge, and I've had to sit on this. I'm going to tell you first a story before I get into this. I'm going to tell you two stories, because not only am I going to do Tumbler Ridge, but I'm going to do MAID program, because they're sourced from the same evil in Canada, okay? So I'm going to do Tumbler Ridge. It's going to be very offensive, everybody. So hang on to your seats. I've had to think about this for 3 solid days. How am I going to deliver this? I'm going to tell you 2 quick stories here before I get into MAID program for boomers, which is super alarming. Went home to it. Very personal stories, okay? And of course, the Tumbler Ridge mass shooting, and some other horrible stories. So I'm going to tell you my personal family experience, probably stuff people don't like to talk about, but I don't know how else to hit these 2 subjects without everybody going, see, he's a racist, a dirty son of a bitch, we hate his guts, pervert, all that. I get it, right? And they will target you for that. So I've been thinking, and I went home, I visited my family, my folks, and a story of mental illness in my family, okay? Something happens with women that's quite common, menopause, right? And sometimes we see a major swing, a major crazy develop, chemical imbalance that overtakes women. And that can happen at just different stages in life. And if women have had children late in life, or sometimes when they've had a lot of children, these things can happen. And I'm going to give you a story of a great aunt of mine, okay? And what would be an uncle, but it's like a grandparent uncle, okay? So the great aunt, and then it would be like a great uncle, I guess, would be the equivalent. And this is back in the 50s in my family tree. So the mother, my great aunt, she would take my great uncle and Christmas concerts for school. Now, this is really rural Alberta, okay, in the 50s. And she was cuckoo, right? And my uncle, this great uncle of mine, he only had sisters. He was the only boy. And she called him a girl. He's my little girl. She had lost it. It's mental illness. She would curl his hair, force him into it, put lipstick, rouge on his face. That was her little girl. And of course, Christmas concert, she's got him all done up like that, curled his hair like a girl, and he had his fist clenched, as the story goes, very angry. And he went on in life, had all kinds of problems, became angry, and never mind that kind of lifestyle, the way laws have changed against men. Folks, I know all about it, as a lot of men do too. When you're in a bad divorce, you're not a bad guy. You love your kids. You lose all of that. Government just swing in there. Judge rules against the man no matter what. A lot of the time, whether people want to hear that or not, right? They just swoop in there, give the rights of the child to the woman. No, the man's going to pay. Look, she doesn't make the income. And they look at all that. If you've ever been through it, they say, well, who is going to pay the child support? Who can pay everything? And they gear it against the guy a lot of times on monetary, right? System's ugly. Not what's best for the child, what delivers the money, who can pay all the bills of the court and what have you. And so that story and that kind of personal understanding, okay? This woman had many children. She had a divorce in BC from her first husband, went on to have children, multiple children with many men. There's a half brother there who was killed. He was 12 years old too, as were all the kids in his class. There's the boy who was the shooter. She'd taken him out of province. It's against the law, but who's going to stop it? The father couldn't stop anything. Went to court, couldn't stop anything. Never referred to his boy other than Jesse. Never called him a girl, never anything. He said, no, that's a boy. He was not down for any of that. Mother, he claims, is cuckoo. Took him away, got him on puberty blockers, 12 years old. I can tell you the laws in British Columbia, the age limits are much, much higher. The highest in Canada, in fact. They begin at the minimum requirements of the United States is actually BC's requirements, 19 years old. So she went off to Eastern Canada where she could get him on puberty blockers at that early age. We hit COVID-19 completely isolated. Mental illness ensues. It happens quite a bit. We don't even know. We can't say he was forced. No one says that. The father sure makes it look that way, that he wasn't down for any of this. We don't have parental rights in Canada because we have the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, a non-binding law the USA ruled never to be binding international law. They vetoed it, but Canada jumped in right away under Prime Minister Brian Mulroney to bring that forward so that things like this can go down irregardless of the parental rights and consent. And that's what happened to this father. And all I'm saying is you have a deeply disturbed, COVID-isolated, puberty-blocked child who grew up clearly unstable, videos and talking of killing. The stepfather to that boy, right, who had the 12-year-old with that boy's mother, right? Obviously, there was issues with the half-brother and the mother because he took his stepfather's firearms and it looks like he executed his mother and the half-brother and then went on to shoot the kids in the half-brother's class. So when we get to here, did the child really want to? Because the father says he didn't want that, didn't want to see any of that. Was it a thing where he may have been feminine, but we have to go through puberty? Is it one of those things that you predetermine at 12 because you set a bar of puberty? I can tell you, I had a brother who was a late bloomer just in my own family. And you know, he was a late bloomer. He didn't hit puberty till 14. In fact, by the time he hit high school, he shot up. Now he's 6'5", and he was a little on the feminine side over years compared to myself and my brothers. But he bloomed, and he ended up being a big man, tall man, and all of that. He went from that kind of girly, like, you know what I mean? And I'm just giving you my own impressions. We can all go through our own families here. You can't set ages on this psycho system of government predetermining against parents. You know, and that's what we see here. That kid was taken across country, apparently against the law, but who's going to enforce anything, right? Typical. And many men have seen this. When you say, no, 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 and the system goes, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Now that man is not only without his child, he's without all the rest of it too. And he's isolated in his community. And all he ever wanted was to be a father and be involved. And the records show he fought for all of that entirely. Where was the system for him? And why did you deprive that young child of their father? And then, of course, COVID, no one's going to force anything. And that kid was isolated with full-on puberty blockers. Maybe whether they liked it or not, maybe you got a mother situation like the story I told you, my great aunt. And if you don't think that shit doesn't happen, it does. And those who say women don't lie as much as men and women lie equally. They just lie in different manners and reasonings for it. But men and women are both psychologically capable of lying just as much. They just do it for different reasons because of their sexes. That's the truth. Mental illness follows men and women too. All kinds of diseases follow men and women. Certain different kinds for different sexes. But ultimately, humans are humans, and they're capable of tremendous evil or tremendous good. And we can't just have biases saying, well, this is all right for that one, and never mind the other side. And this is the evil, everybody. The evil of the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, aka UN Convention on the Rights of Government over your children, who doesn't love your children, could care less about your children, doesn't know them, they get assigned a number. I don't care what anyone says, it's always better to be with the biological parents than to be thrown into the system. Now, I know people, and even people from my own family, I know adoptions have happened in my family. Later on, they come back and say, well, it was a good thing, I ended up with a good family. Well, a lot of people don't end up with a good family. They end up in the foster system, and they come out extremely broken, right? And that's why the system's flawed. 9 out of 10 times, it's better to stay with the biological parents. You're less likely to see all the abuses, right? I mean, there's situations, obviously, where it's not. But when that kid goes on and stays in the system, they always end up way worse off than they ever would have been. 9 times out of 10. I don't care what anyone says. That's a fact. Now on the MAID program, another personal story. I'm home, take my girls to the Alberta Royal Museum downtown on Sunday, okay? And I'm driving on my way downtown. I look over. It's very icy in Edmonton. Big melt-off. Elderly woman walking away. Just caught out of the corner of my eye. So I'm going down the freeway. Whoom! Slips on the ice. Crack. She's down. And she was an old woman. And flatlined. And I'm looking. Wow. I jump the curb. Go up on the bank. Stop. Park the car. Jump out. And I go running full tilt because she's down. She ain't getting up. I get to her. She's clearly in her late 70s, bleeding everywhere, everybody. And I go to her, ma'am, do you need help? Or is anything broken? Can you feel everything? I'm going to call 911. She says, no, just please help me up. And she's bleeding out her eye, cracked her head, but her eye too, glasses pushed in, cut her. She's just striped. She's got blood in her hand. She's trying to use a Kleenex from her pocket. I pick her up carefully under her arms. I get her to her feet. And I go, ma'am, you're bleeding. And, you want to question her. And I say, ma'am, I want to make sure you get home. I want to make sure you get help. You're bleeding pretty good. And she goes, no, I'm okay. And, you can't take me home. She says, my father's going to get extremely upset if a man brings me home. And I said, oh, ma'am. And she's, like I said, I know for sure she's in at least 75, could be in her 80s. I say, ma'am, please tell me, how old is your father? She goes, he's 72. I said, ma'am, you're clearly in your 70s at least. There's no way you got a 72-year-old father. And so my alarm bells are going off, right? It's this dementia, or she smacked her head real bad. And she goes, oh, no, I said it wrong. It's my brother. And she's trying to claim herself, right? And this is what's rocking around Edmonton. Another couple pulls up, middle-aged, a little bit older than me, the woman and the male, and they knew her, and they said, oh, she's out. Don't worry, we're going to take it from here. We saw you stop. Oh, man, you're a really good man. Thanks for picking her up, getting her feet, because they didn't think, they're older too, and they're smaller. They didn't think they could pick her up like I did. And on the ice. So I did that, and, I go for my birthday. I spend a few hours on Monday before I leave to go catch my plane, all that. So I'm telling my parents that. My mom tells me, everybody, my mom's 73 years old. This is what's happening in Alberta now. So not only do they have these annual renewals for licensing everybody, now when you go for your doctor and all that, they're handing you these information pamphlets. Do not resuscitate. If they die in an emergency, don't try to resuscitate you. The doctor's pushing on my mother, who's not with cancer, not sick, nothing major, nothing wrong with her yet, right? Cognitive, all that. And she goes, I can't believe they gave me that after I did my physical and I passed because of licensing, getting all that, right? And then they're telling her to sign off the MAID program, do not resuscitate. They're doing this to seniors. I don't know if this is Canada-wide, but this is Alberta. This is all for the new MAID program, trying to wipe out the boomers. At least in Alberta, a lot of boomers are going to find out with the new incoming license requirements of annual renewals and the physical portion, you're going to find out that they're trying to sell you on the MAID program, liquidate you, your assets, basically giving the doctor rights to your estate and everything. This is real, folks. And like I said, I talked to my other aunt who's 78 years old, who will be going through 200, and she's alone now. And I said, any of this shit comes upon you, because she called me yesterday to wish me a happy birthday. And I said, Aunt Ines, any of this shit befalls you and you go for this physical, because my Uncle Dennis isn't around anymore, right? Kids are in the States, stuff like that. And it's like, you just call me, because it'll be a cold day in hell before they're doing that. And I think a lot of boomers are going to find out. I don't know if this is all of Canada or just AHS through Alberta, but that is what they're doing for the new licensing program. Selling off all boomers, trying to get them to sign off. And you're supposed to post it on your fridge in case you collapse at home or you lose your life at home. That way, when paramedics respond, they won't resuscitate you in the event you fell, hit your head, or had a heart attack, or would have you stroke. They'll leave you to die, and then your estate's theirs. It's sick. This whole country, Canada's gone. Welcome to communism. Now, again, I don't know for other provinces, but that alone shows the sick, sad state of Canada, at least Alberta. And that's where we're all going, folks. We're all going there. No love of the dirty third-class subject. No future of private property rights. They don't want it. If you don't know about firearms, they're not paying anybody for guns. I know this firsthand too. My parents had a lot to tell me. My family, my old man, hundreds of firearms, collected his whole life. I was raised on every manner of firearm, restricted, non-restricted, and now he's going through the buyback program, because you know what'll happen. They'll just raid the house. Oh, you did. Oh, we had this because you got restricted. They're now prohibited. You got, right, turn them in, get money. It don't even look like they're going to get money for it now. And why is that? Because firearms are private property, and no province wants to write a constitution enshrining your private property rights, because the provincial crown wants to eat it for themselves. It's their property, their resources, their royalties. You don't get any filthy subjects. Canadians don't get that. Albertans certainly don't get that. Oil isn't yours. It's the Crown's. It's off Crown's land, aka the provincial crown. You don't get it. And nobody ever got that. But you're learning it if you didn't learn it already. You're learning it with the firearms grabs. And like I said, it's an evil, sick, twisted country. Provinces and federal combined. And we're in bad shape. So I hope a lot of people got a lot out of this video. I went through this horrible weekend of degenerate evil right across Canada. And believe it or not, there's even more. But there's only so much you can do in any given video. Stay tuned for my next one. Share. Get this one out there. It's important everybody knows. God bless. Love you all. Bye now.